Union 3rd Corps. Their monuments have diamonds as a part of their design. General Sickles was a political general, a congressman from New York City in the 1850s. When the war breaks out, he raises 5,000 New Yorkers to U.S. service. That's how he earns his first star. He comes here after Chancellorsville as a 2-star general and in command of 10,500 men. He was brave, charismatic, persuasive, had a couple of problems, doesn't know much about military tactics, likes to do things his own way. That's a problem in the Army. Now, his corps should have been holding a position on July 2nd between Little Round Top, which you can see off there to your right and rear, okay, since the trees haven't leaved very much. That's where his left should have been, facing towards us, with his right connecting with Hancock's 2nd Corps close to where the Pennsylvania monument is today, okay? But he knows that the Confederates are out there in that far tree line. He's actually had a reconnaissance in that area around midday, and they ran into some of A.P. Hill's corps, some of Wilcox Alabama's. So his concern is now that they're going to advance, seize this position, place their artillery in it,
and just fire down.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he'll attempt to get approval from me to move to a new position. He never gets it. So he's going to move them anyway between 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon to a new position, which is going to be well in advance of the rest of the Union line, and eventually in the shape of 2 sides of a triangle. Okay, the right wing begins about midway between those 2 barns along the Emmitsburg Road, and then comes towards us along the road. You can even see some monuments out there. The angle in the line is going to be just beyond where you see that standing artillery statue. That also creates a salient in the line. The left wing goes down the Wheatfield Road, which would have been here. When it gets closer to the trees that you see in the distance, not the orchard, but the ones in the distance, it goes through the wheat field and then ends at a place with a very colorful name. It's called the Devil's Den. Now, if you turn to the other side of the map that has the miniature maps, perhaps the layout here will make things even clearer. Look at the July 2nd map. It's oriented if you have Lee and Meade's heads facing in this direction. The Confederate line would be in red, the Union line would be in blue. Where are we? Right about where the first S in Sickles' name is. His line should have extended from about there, a little bit below Hancock, to about there. I'm estimating that's where Little Round Top is. This is what he does. So all of a sudden now, when Longstreet attacks at 4 o'clock, the Union Army has several problems. Number one, they're no longer connected along Cemetery Ridge. There's a gap there. Secondly, Meade doesn't know that Sickles has made the move for at least a half an hour. Thirdly, his new line, Sickles' new line, is almost twice as long as what his original line should have been. So he doesn't have enough men to adequately hold it. And lastly, it's a defensive line that's no longer straight. It has an angle in it. Why is that a problem? These 2 arrows are trying to indicate that if you attack an angle simultaneously from 2 different sides, you can typically overpower it. Because the men in Union uniforms over here in the Peach Orchard can only point their rifles in one direction at a time. So what I would argue, on July 2nd, everything becomes a reaction to what Sickles does. The Union will send all sorts of reinforcements, the entire 5th Corps, parts of the 2nd Corps, parts of the 12th Corps from Culp's Hill, in an attempt to prevent Sickles' line from collapsing. They'll even send men to places where he should have been. So the reason that Vincent's brigade and the 20th Maine get to Little Round Top is because Sickles abandoned the position, or more likely, was never dead to begin with.
Yeah, they were just going to jump there.
Well, they're sent there because there's no other troops there.
Right.